Hey everybody, this is Retro Challenge Gamer. We are back with some more Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tier ranking of all 96 tracks. We are almost done. 4 more Grand Prix to go for both the base game and the DLC. This is my current loadout right now in terms of ranking, and there's going to be some last minute changes actually, and this is on some reflecting because it's not based on any sort of comments or anything you have made because I recorded all this well before the first video went live, so this has nothing to do with any outside opinions. This is just me going back over the last 8 videos and thinking to myself, maybe I should make some changes. And one of those was Mushroom Gorge, which, even though I don't really enjoy playing on it, it's not that it's a bad track. I think the worst part is the Mushroom Gorge part, which kind of ruins the whole thing for me. But the rest of the track is fine, and I don't mind it. And at least it's not boring, like Dry Dry Desert, which would then put Dry Dry Desert down here, which I would want to say it's kind of a toss-up between Toad's Turnpike and Dry Dry Desert, so I'm just going to put it right there in front of Toad's Turnpike because I feel like that's a more dynamic track compared to Toad's Turnpike. And then the only other major change I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move Shroom Ridge down to just before Sydney Sprint there. So Rainbow Road and Coconut Mall end up being a little bit more of a fun track compared to Shroom Ridge. Shroom Ridge is still pretty fun, but I just think Coconut Mall and the Rainbow Road for 3DS just has a lot more going for it compared to just, driving on a road with a bunch of cars. So yeah, those are my last minute changes before we head into the final 4 videos. Everything else looks fine. I don't feel like I'm going to change any more rankings beyond that currently. And so let's get right into the rest of it. So we have 4 more cups to go. We have Mushroom, Flower, Crown, and Lightning Bolt. Mrs. Retro Challenge Gamer, which of these 4 shall I choose? The Psychedelic Mushrooms. We're going to go for the very first cup of the game. This is pretty awesome. So we're going to start with Mario Kart Stadium, which I believe I did try and get a better time. Yeah, Triforce tires, but yet I still failed miserably trying to get a better time. This was another track that I tried 2 years later, like recently with the DLC course to try and get a better time. I did not, but I did my best. I tried my best. So for a beginner first track to introduce everybody to the world of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I have to say this particular circuit track, I know it's Mario Stadium, but let's face it, it's a circuit track, okay? It basically functions more or less like a circuit track. It's an introduction to everything Mario Kart 8. And it even starts off with a nice turn, some booster pads, a small little shortcut here, and you're already into the anti-grav section. And it gives you some nice, smooth flowing turns, big hairpin turn to really start working that drift and those turbos, and then finally a glide jump. So, and it gives you enough shortcuts, like there's a shortcut off to the left here through the pipes, which, yeah, I do take, yep. And then you're done. So it's a very simple course, but it hits all the marks for an introductory track. So I can't not deny the appeal of this track in terms of just aesthetics and the overall general feel and vibe of the track. Because let's face it, look at the bottom right. It's basically a figure 8. It's a more complex figure 8 sort of type course with a little bit more dynamics given to it, but at its core essence, that's what it is. It's a Mario circuit track. But it has a lot more going for it, and I think it performs it much better than any other type of circuit track we've seen thus far. So coming hot off of the Super Nintendo Super Mario Kart 2 decades later, I come into Mario Kart here, and this is my first reintroduction to Mario Kart. This is phenomenal. This is a fantastic introduction, and I really appreciate what it does for the player in introducing just about every single concept you're going to be using going forward from every single track here on. So I have nothing but good praises to say for it. Not really sure what I'm going to rank it though, because, let's face it, it's kind of a basic track. So getting to our rankings, let's figure out where we're going to put Mario Kart Stadium, because it's not a very good track, but I wouldn't say it's average either. It's just, it's a hard track to place. It probably gets a high average. It's better than Merry Mountain because it's not just a singular loop, you know, like Merry Mountain is. But it's not crazy with a bunch of gimmicks and thrill rides that Wario's Gold Mine is either. And then, of course, it can't top Moonlight Highway or whatever. So I think it fits nicely in the middle here at the top end of average. Yeah, as an introductory track, this is a pretty good track all around. And I just don't think there's much more to be said about it. So let's move on. So moving to Water Park. There's quite a few things wrong with Water Park. This isn't one of them. Beating the cool time here is not one of them. But we'll discuss it when we get into the track proper. So Water Park, you'd think there would be a lot of rides or a lot of underwater sections to the whole area. But in reality, you're out of the water in just as much time as you are in it. So you go through, like, I guess the entryway to the park, and then you roll right into the big set piece of the entire race, which is this big loop-de-loop, which I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be. And then you're out of the water. You're not even in it. And then you go back in the water. It's just this one big loop-de-loop. And then there's just one singular ride that you actually do see that's underwater, these little underwater cups, which you can shortcut through, easy enough. And then you launch back out of the water, and you're back on dry land, and there's the Ferris wheel, which, okay, that's nice. A little something to avoid and dodge there. And you're back onto the next lap. So, in essence, it's really just a big loop track, like Baby Park or Excite Bike or something. It's just one big loop with the loop-de-loop in the middle of one side of it. It's very simple. It's very plain. And I really wish we had more to do with the actual park itself. Like maybe we go on that ship that we saw right before we went up this anti-gravity section. There was like a sunken ship. Maybe that could be kind of cool to kind of breeze through that a little bit. Maybe see maybe like a haunted ship and stuff, you know, haunted underwater ship ride or something. That'd be kind of cool. But we don't get to see or realize any of that. And then, of course, there's boats on the water and stuff like that. Maybe we could have some sort of boost pad that kind of lets you skip over the water a little bit if you hit it just right. Or you can just take an alternative route and just glide over it. Either way, I just feel like there could have been so much more done with this track. But at the end of the day, it's basically just a singular loop track with maybe one big S-turn at the very end, which you can just easily skip through with the proper items. So there's really not much to say about this track. It's just not very good. Aesthetically, it's pleasing to the eye. I really like it aesthetically, but playing it, it's one of the most boring tracks ever. So having said that, I have to put Water Park in the kinda bad section. I honestly think I enjoy Donut Plains more than I do Water Park. Absolutely. I know that's a crazy hot take, but I feel like it's one of the lesser tracks in this Mario Kart 8 base game. I enjoy it more than Sky High Sunday, which just feels like a slower version of Excite Bike, and I have definitely enjoyed it more than Shroom Ridge. But it just can't be an average track. It's just a less than average track. It's not altogether good, and I don't really want to speak any more to it. And I just dropped my mouse. I'll be right back, y'all. So moving into the next part of the Mushroom Cup, the initial cup that everybody typically starts Mario Kart 8 on, we have Sweet Canyon, which I did not beat the time. Okay, sure, whatever. We're going to go straight into it, and we'll have a little bit to talk about here. So Sweet Canyon really reminds me of Wreck-It Ralph and, what is it? Not Candyland, but the sweet land that Princess Vanellope is in and everything. It's just Sugarland. I think it's Sugarland. Sugar Rush, the game. This is basically like Sugar Rush Mario Kart, pretty much. You know, you even have the gingerbread men in the stands going, yay, you know, cheering you on. Then you have a weird little caramel underwater section for some strange reason, which you never go back into later on in the track. You're just now on this weird little candy cane road, and then you're back on the main course. So, theming-wise, this is fantastic. I love all the crazy chocolate and donut and candy-themed visuals you see all over. You see those that little spray of like golden, I don't know, caramel fountain off to the right there. That's pretty neat. In terms of like the track layout, it's nice. I actually like the way the layout looks. It's fun, gives you a nice little roundabout. I mean, most of the tracks in the Mushroom Cup are pretty simple, more or less, because they're trying to get you warmed up for the real tough tracks later on in subsequent cups. But this is really probably the hardest part, which are these candy cane roads, which it splits off. So you have choice here on which one you want to do. So you just pick the one that you're most comfortable in doing in terms of turns and stuff like that, and then you just pick that one for the remainder. I don't think either one is better than the other in terms of which one is shorter or not. I think they're both about the same. So, but in terms of just getting ahead of people, there's a lot of opportunities towards the end. The beginning, not so much. Maybe here around the big circular loop to get down to the actual candy cane split run. And then I guess it's just depending on how fast you get through your own respective... Yeah, because it looks like they're both facing each other. They're both tilted to face each other, and then they come back in. So there's no benefit one way or the other. You can choose which one, and they're basically both the same route. Now this is where the jockeying for position towards the end happens, and this shortcut comes into play where you can take it and eke out a victory at the last second from whoever's in first. So that's kind of fun. So let's talk about this track for a little bit, shall we? Sweet Sweet Canyon. I have to say, it's a very good track all around, but I do not think it is an exceptionally good track to even be in the middle of the pack, though. There are other tracks I enjoy more. And I have to say, it's probably at the bottom here. It's probably at the bottom. It's a very simple track to where... I do like London Loop better. I feel like that's a more tight, more challenging track to do, and things change up every single route and everything. So now it just it comes down to Tokyo Blur. Like, do I enjoy this track, or do I enjoy the more compact, faster track of Tokyo Blur? That's where it really comes down to. And I feel like the theming gonna win out here, and I think it has to go in front of Tokyo Blur. I just don't think I can take it any higher than that, just based on this how simplistic it is. It's still a very good track, but overall, it's still very simple in theming. I don't... no, that's it. Yeah, let's move on. If I keep talking, I'm going to talk myself into circles around it. Now for the final track of the Mushroom Cup, we are thrown for a loop with the beginner tracks for people who are just getting introduced to the game. Thwomp Ruins is very difficult, and despite that, I actually won the time here against Sophia. But this is very, very difficult track. It's like a jump up in difficulty compared to the previous 3 tracks, both in design and the type of obstacles you're going to be facing. So we don't actually get a lot of ruin tracks in this game. The only other track I can recall specifically is Athens Dash. There's another track where you run through some ruins. But yeah, right at the start, you have a shortcut here through the grass, which I think I'll probably take for the rest of the track here. And then you have a choice here. Go out either in the anti-grav and avoid this rolling wheel that I think shows up on the 2nd or 3rd lap, which knocks down these barriers for the final lap, so that's kind of neat. Then you can either go straight under the thwomps or go anti-grav on the sides too. A little bit of a weird design choice there, but whatever. And then finally, you do an anti-grav portion with a whole bunch of twisted routes through some more thwomps. Sort of like a lazy S-turn, foreshadowing of tougher turns later on in the subsequent cups, and then a final glide to the end. So overall, it's a fun track to go on. It's a little bit difficult because of the thwomps and the prevalence of specific obstacles that get in your way going forward. And I think it appears on the 2nd. I think the rotating wheel appears on the 2nd. I guess it's just too fast for it to appear and I'm in front of it instead of behind it. Either way. There's really not much to say about this track because, I mean, overall it's pretty simple other than the thwomps, which are pretty much providing the main gimmick of the course. And then there's one last shortcut off to the left there. I'm not really good. At least 2 years ago when I recorded this, I was not very good at Mario Kart enough to take that particular shortcut because you kind of actually have to be dead on taking it, because if you are not, that last trick leap off is going to just run you straight past the other side, and you're not going to hit that glide jump very well. Okay, so yeah, there was a rock, and you can take the center route straight through and avoid the left and right routes, which are just slightly slower by just a couple seconds. So overall, this is actually a very fun design track. I didn't like it at first when I was first starting to learn Mario Kart 2 years ago during COVID. But now that I'm a lot better at Mario Kart, but by no means an expert, I still fail at online play abysmally. But now that I have gained some skill at the whole game, I think I enjoy it a lot more. I appreciate it a lot more. So I'm probably going to have to say it's in the very good category. I'd have to say it's probably in the middle of the pack here. It's a toss-up between Ice Ice Outpost and Boo Lake, where it's probably going to go. And I honestly don't know where I would put it. I don't know if it's on the far left of Ice Ice Outpost, because I find that still more enjoyable, or Boo Lake, which I also find just as enjoyable. So honestly, I think I'm going to pop it right here in the middle, unless I have a change of heart later on. But yeah, I think that's a good place to put it for now. So yeah, there's the Mushroom Cup, everybody. So we're going to move on to the DLC. And as always, my son is somewhere else, so he's not here to decide for us. But he did say, if you do it again, do the Cherry Cup. So we're doing the Cherry Cup, and starting off with Los Angeles Laps, which is another tour course. So I think we're down to 5 now? I was not as fast as Alice here. Dang, she beat me like a heck of a lot, like over 5 seconds or something. So let's go see how bad we failed. There's a couple world record changes or shortcuts here that I just do not take because I just can't. I cannot take them very easily. This is actually one of the better Mario Kart Tour tracks, because every single lap is different, and it actually does not loop in on itself hardly ever. I think there's only one time it does, and you barely notice that you're doing it. So it starts off here on the beach because, you know, California, Los Angeles beaches, woo! You got a little skate park here, which is nice, but I don't take the actual trick jumps here because if I do, I'm going to not be able to turn left hard enough to take this exit. Or the shortcut here. I know some world record people are able to get those 3 coins on the curve and then immediately break left and then take the shortcut anyway. My wrists, I can't. I just don't have the skill set to do that. So it's a little bit easy to follow this particular course. The layout is very clear and concise. It's not visually dense as some of the other tracks are in the World Tour circuit. So you can easily see where you're going. This is really neat. You get to go through the stadium. I'm sure I've not been to the stadium in Los Angeles, so I'm pretty sure it has a name, but I don't remember it. Hey, Rotten's playing Super Mario RPG. You're in the suburbs here, with the nice, rich, ritzy houses on left and right, and then I think you're in like some sort of shopping district. See, it's always interesting, and I like how they have the little spectators on the side. So I think this is the road you go on at least twice. So this is the main central boulevard that you go down at least twice. And then you go into the oil fields for some reason. I always thought this was such a weird thing. Oil fields in the middle of Los Angeles. You'd think it'd be on the outskirts, but this ain't the outskirts. This is between the city and the beach in terms of track design. But, you know, America, oil fields, whatever. Okay, sure. I get the illusion. But, yeah, it's never a dull moment. I wish there were more obstacles, more things to keep it interesting, because I know London Loop has, like, the chain chomps, and Berlin Byways has the cars. But here in Los Angeles Laps, I think the only obstacle you really encounter is the little oil rig stuff in the oil fields. That's like literally it. And you just avoid them as they're just going up and down and stuff. There's nothing else on the road. It's just literally driving on streets. So it's basically just like a Mario circuit, actually. It's kind of like a Mario circuit. So given that knowledge here, ooh, I don't want to say it's average because it's a very good track. It's very interesting. It keeps your attention throughout. But as I said, it's probably not as good as London Loop because that's what I compared it to. But I do feel I find a more enjoyable time on Los Angeles Laps compared to Sweet Sweet Canyon because it's just more variety in its environments and it's just different every single lap. It's not the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I think that's a good place to put it, at the bottom of the very good, just before Sweet Sweet Canyon. That's a great place to put Los Angeles Laps. So, yeah, moving forward. Sunset Wilds, another GBA. So we are done with GBA ports. So this will be the last track that has been simply converted over, and I didn't make a good time on this. I remember this one, I was having a rough time getting the time trial down. I thought I was having very extreme controller drift and everything, and I was getting really pissed off. You can even ask Mr. Retro Challenge Gamer. I was getting pissed off here. Only to later realize on the next track after I finished this time trial, during one of my restarts, I accidentally turned the tilt controls on, which affected my driving so much. I didn't realize afterwards. I felt so stupid. And I was like, I could have repeated this and got a better, probably a slightly better time, but at that point I was just so mad at this track. I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to accept my time and move on. I don't have a lot of time to do time trials for the rest of the courses before I can do this tier ranking list, so whatever. I just accepted what I got. Anyway, that's a fun aside story for you. So let's talk about the track itself, okay? In terms of ports, this is kind of a boring port. I know some people really complained that the big gimmick or draw of this track is that the sun is setting and it becomes nighttime by the third lap of the track. To me, I don't care about that. Remember, I'm coming in from 2 decades ago from Super Nintendo, so I have no recollection or fond memories or rose-tinted glasses about this track at all. So I'm just coming into it as it is right now. So it's sunset, wilds or whatever. We're driving during sunset. Great, that's fine. If it becomes nighttime during the lap, okay, I don't care. How's it as a track? As a track, I mean, yeah, you're just making some turns. You're avoiding some oil slicks here. There's maybe a little bit of excitement right here, almost like kind of Wario Stadium style with these non-moving boost pads, and then a small little shortcut here, and then you got these cute little dancing shy guys and TBs and stuff. Those are kind of cute, but that's it. You got a couple jumps here, and then it's one straight turn to the track. It seems like, compared to like an awesome port like Ribbon Road, which really adds so much dynamicism to the overall track, this one feels like it plays it safe, and it's very bare bones in its execution of the port from the GBA track. Knowing what I know now, and I've seen previous videos of the base game 48 tracks and how they ported some of those GBA courses to the base game, how much they changed there, it feels like there's no excuse for some of these GBA tracks to be as simple as they are. I'm like, you did that with, say, Ribbon Road, but you couldn't do the same treatment with this. I understand probably DLC, they didn't have a lot of time to work with, and they were probably rushing everything, so this was probably one of the tracks that fell by the wayside and got a little half-baked, unfortunately. So as a result, it kind of lands itself in the... Well, no, I probably would not choose it either. I would probably say I would have more fun in it just because it's more dynamic in terms of track layout style than Water Park. And so, in that case, I would prefer it over Water Park, but I probably would not put it over Donut Plains. For some reason, Donut Plains has been a staple of kind of bad, but still kind of fun tracks over anything that's below it for some reason. I don't know why that works out that way, but it just does. So, moving on, I don't think I can get any higher than kind of bad for this track. Koopa Cape for the Wii. We are down to like the last few Wii tracks. Now, from my understanding, I was close by a little over a second. Huh. Now, I understand there's a lot of people who are great fans of this track, amazing fans of this track, and I can see why. And I also can see why they're upset by how they butchered, apparently, the underwater tunnel. So let's talk about the track as we go. In terms of porting-wise, it feels like it's kind of simple, because you see those blocks and everything. When I see those blocks on the side, in this case the green and yellow blocks, I feel like they couldn't think of anything better to put there in terms of the overall revamping, building from the ground up sort of port. So they just put blocks there to block people off. But here I do like, this is probably the most interesting part of the track, is these falls here, this river flowing down with the Koopa shells and stuff, and the ability to do a couple shortcuts. And then you go through the underwater tunnel, which is nice, because I don't think any other track has this sort of underwater tunnel that you go on. So for that, this gives props, because you're never going to find this sort of environment anywhere else in either the base game or the DLC. And then you have a couple half pipes. That's the track. So let's talk about the half pipes. This is actually one of the few courses I can honestly see the half pipes being very good in using. They feel like they're very naturally implemented into some of the turns, and if you happen to come at it at the right angle and get off at the right angle, it can really shoot you ahead a couple spaces. I don't know why you'd go through some of these turtle shells, especially the rock arches, pretty much, because they feel like a slower version than just going straight down the actual river itself. Now here, I guess the river kept flowing through the tunnel, and then they created a half pipe here, which can be useful if you're collecting the coins for your first lap and it just shoots you back onto the straightaway. And then right here, if you run a little bit hot on that turn coming out of the aqua tunnel, that boost pad can then shoot you back straight to the finish line, put you in the right direction. The only downside is that the camera is like super wonky on any of these half pipes. I don't know what they were thinking when they implemented the camera here. I was hoping they would fix that in Wave 6, but apparently not. And since they're done with the DLC, they'll never fix the camera for these half pipes, so that's a shame, because that would improve this track by leaps and bounds. So layout-wise, it's fantastic. I mean, at its core essence, it's kind of a figure 8, but I mean, it's just enough variation, and no single part of the track outstays its welcome. It's always changing, it's always evolving, and it's always interesting. So I can definitely see why this is a absolute favorite of most people in the Mario Kart community. The only thing I don't like, however, is the music. For some reason, the music just doesn't jive with me. It doesn't feel like it matches the environment very well. So Koopa Cape, where would I rate this? I still feel like it's lacking something, so I do not want to put it as best of the best, but it is really high up there. Like, it's above Coconut Mall for me and Rainbow Road. I think I'll put it right there above Electrodrome, because there's just more of a variety of environments there that you can explore and everything, and there's always something new to see on every part of the track. Whereas Electrodrome, it's all blends together, and so it's all just one big mesh of dance rave. Where here, you know exactly where you are at any point in the track. So for that, it definitely gets cool points there. So yeah, I think that's the best place to put it at the moment. I don't think it beats out Mute City, because I just feel like I have more fun in Mute City. So I think that's as high as it's going to go. It's a exceptionally very good track, and I think that's where it belongs. So we get to the final course of the Cherry Cup, Vancouver Velocity. I did not do too terribly good. I was shy just about a second or two. This one, I think this one is probably one of the best tour tracks across the board. Absolutely. Not just for the overall theming and feel of it, but I love nighttime tracks to begin with, and I like that it's just after sunset that you can see. It's just as nighttime falls. And so the first place they take you is out in the woods, and they take you on a tree walk, which is a high platformed bridge over trees in a forest. I've always loved these sorts of things, and there's some nearby here, us too, that we actually need to take our oldest son to, Mr. Retro Challenge Gamer. We need to take him there, but these are just such cool places to explore and everything, and I just love the fact that they give you an opportunity to race on one of them. And then once you're done with this cool first lap, which this is probably the strongest part of the whole course, is the first lap, then you get to fly right back into the city with the boat on the side as nice visuals, little shortcut here for you if you want, and you're done with the first lap, and now you're back into basically another city course after that. But I do like the fact that they took you outside the bounds of the city and really got you to explore the countryside a little bit. And here they take you through a nice park, so it's kind of like a blend of both the city and the exterior woodland area. So they kind of are easing you into the final city part of the track. So I do like this little park area. It kind of delays the overall city aspect of this track, of what most tour tracks comprise of. But now we're in for the city proper, and you go through the arena, the ice skating arena. I am pretty sure this has a name. It's probably a popular ice skating arena. I just do not know Vancouver very well. But regardless, then you go on to some nondescript roads here, and then back to the start where we started the whole thing. I do like the fact that it kind of keeps looping you back around to the singular start point, but it takes you on a different path through the level every single lap. I really appreciate that. And it gives you a type of symmetry to the whole track by bringing you back to the singular start point. Because I know some of the tour tracks, they have like multiple lap points and everything, but this one only has one, and it takes you through it every single time. And that's really neat. That is great design right there. And it's just a fun track. There's obstacles, there's the Shy Guys on the ice skates and everything, so there's always something to keep your attention throughout the whole course. Yeah, definitely one of the best tracks from the Mario Kart Tour series. Absolutely. So heading back to our ranking list, where would that put it? I said it's one of the best tour tracks, and I honestly think it's one of the best tracks, period. Now, do I like it more than Athens Dash? I don't know. I actually think it's probably it's a toss-up because I don't think it's funner than Alpine Way because, as I said before in an earlier video, I just love the gliding mechanic. I just love gliding down the valley and everything. I just think that's such a cool visual and gameplay experience every time I play that track, so I can't go higher than Rock Mountain. So it's really just a decision here between Athens Dash and Vancouver Velocity. And I think, just because of the theming, I think I like Athens Dash better. Yeah, I think Athens Dash really has the stronger of the two World Tour tracks. So yeah, dang, we have 14 best of the best so far, which is what I was not expecting that. I was expecting something a little bit more like, you know, maybe I'll have like 6 or 7 best of the best, but no, there's been quite a few as I've gone through this discussion. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm pretty sure there was at least a hot take in here, but see y'all later, and stay retro.